The throne room of Valtherus had never been this quiet. Hundreds of dragon nobles stood in perfect lines. Their armor shined like fire under the golden lights. Massive stone pillars reached high into the dark ceiling, carved with ancient dragon symbols. Red banners moved slowly in the heavy air. At the end of the hall stood the Dragon King's throne, made of black stone and dragon bone. It was large, powerful, and feared, and today it trembled. No one knew why. In the center of the hall stood a single human. His name was Aaron. He was not a warrior. He was not a noble. He was only a blacksmith's son from a small border village. His clothes were simple. His hands were rough from hard work. He had no sword, no armor. Yet he stood in the heart of the Dragon Kingdom. Soldiers surrounded him. Their eyes glowed faintly with dragon fire. One wrong move, and he would be ashes. On the throne sat King Valor, ruler of all dragons. His silver horns curved back over his head. His red eyes burned like hot coals. His voice could shake mountains. He stared down at the human with anger. "You dare stand in my hall," the king said slowly. After touching royal blood, the words echoed like thunder. Aaron did not answer, because beside him stood the reason for all of this. Princess Kilira, the royal dragon princess. She stood tall, her long dark hair falling over armor made of shining red scales. Small sparks moved along her shoulders. Her golden eyes were calm, but strong. She did not look afraid. The court whispered. Why was the princess standing beside a human? Why was she not denying it? The king stood up slowly. The floor shook under his weight. "Explain yourself," he commanded. The princess did not bow. She did not kneel. Instead, she stepped forward. Her wings unfolded behind her, wide and powerful, casting shadows across the hall. "I choose him," she said clearly. The whispering turned into shocked gasps. The king's face darkened. "You will marry Prince Kedron of the Eastern Flame," the king growled. "The alliance is already decided." Kilira's eyes did not move from Aaron. "I do not choose Kedron," she said. Silence. Then something unexpected happened. Kilira reached out her hand. Slowly, gently, and she took Aaron's hand. The moment their hands touched, the world changed. A deep rumble filled the throne room. The massive stone throne cracked. Not loudly, but clearly. Everyone heard it. The floor beneath them vibrated. Ancient dragon symbols carved into the stone floor began to glow faintly blue. The priests near the throne stepped back in fear. "That is impossible," one of them whispered. Aaron felt something warm move through his body. Not burning, not painful, just warm, like standing near a fire on a cold night. Golden light flickered around their joined hands. The king roared. "Separate from him," he shouted. Guards rushed forward. But when the first guard tried to grab Aaron's arm, a burst of force pushed him back across the floor. He crashed into a pillar. The hall exploded with panic. Nobles shouted. Soldiers stepped back. Some dragons partially shifted into their true forms, claws appearing, eyes glowing brighter. But Kilira did not let go. Aaron looked at her. He did not understand what was happening. He had never asked for power. He had never asked for this. All he had done was save her life weeks ago near the border forest when hunters attacked her while she was in human form. He had not known she was a princess. He had only seen someone in danger. Now he stood before a furious king. The throne cracked again, this time louder. A thin line spread across the black stone. The king froze. The throne of Valtherus was ancient, older than the kingdom itself. It was said the throne carried the will of the first dragons. It did not break. It did not shake. Until now, the royal priests dropped to their knees. "Your Majesty," one said with fear in his voice, "the throne is reacting." The king's breathing grew heavier. Outside the palace windows, the sky began to darken. Clouds gathered from nowhere. Lightning flashed in the distance. Inside the hall, the glowing symbols grew brighter. Aaron felt his heart race. He looked down. A faint mark had appeared on his wrist, a small dragon-shaped symbol glowing softly. Gasps filled the air. "The blood bond," a priest whispered. The king's eyes widened. "No," he said quietly, but the throne trembled again. Princess Kilira stepped closer to Aaron, still holding his hand. Her voice was steady. "I choose him," she repeated. Another crack spread across the throne, and for the first time in hundreds of years, fear appeared in the Dragon King's eyes. Because this was not rebellion. This was not love alone. This was something older, something written in dragon law. And the throne was answering. The rumbling grew louder. The great doors of the throne room shook on their hinges. The ancient symbols burned bright blue. And as every dragon in the hall watched in disbelief, the throne split with a sharp sound that echoed like a breaking mountain. The kingdom had just changed, and no one could stop it. The throne did not just crack. It screamed. A deep, ancient sound filled the hall, like a giant beast waking from 1,000-year sleep. Blue fire burst from the cracks in the throne. Not normal fire. This fire did not burn the floor. It did not spread. It moved like it was alive. The nobles fell back in fear. King Valor stepped away from his own throne. That had never happened before. Princess Kalira still held Aaron's hand, but now her eyes were glowing brighter than before. Not red, not gold, white, pure white. The priests began chanting old dragon words. Their voices shook. They were not chanting to control it. They were chanting to survive it. One of the oldest priests looked at the glowing symbol on Aaron's wrist. His face lost all color. "It is not just a bond," he whispered. "It is the choosing." The word hit the hall like a weapon. The choosing was not a story for children. It was not romance. It was not rebellion. It was a law older than the crown itself. Long before kings ruled dragons, the first flame created a law. If a royal dragon chooses by heart, not by order, the throne must test the truth. If the bond is false, both will die. If the bond is selfish, the kingdom will burn. If the bond is pure, the throne will kneel. The king roared in anger. "This is madness. He is human." As if answering him, the blue fire shot upward and formed a circle around Aaron and Kalira. No one could enter. No one could leave. The air became heavy, hard to breathe. Aaron felt pressure in his chest. He could hear his own heartbeat louder than the shouting around him. Kalira squeezed his hand. "Do not let go," she whispered. The throne suddenly split open completely. Inside it, something ancient pulsed. A dark crystal, the heart of rule. It had not been seen in centuries. The nobles gasped. Some fell to their knees. Because the heart did not appear for kings. It appeared for judgment. The crystal rose into the air. The moment it did, every dragon in the room felt their power weaken. Even the king. Valor tried to shift into his full dragon form. Nothing happened. His fire flickered weakly from his mouth and vanished. Fear moved across his face. The heart of rule was stripping power from everyone. Everyone except two, Aaron and Kalira. The blue circle tightened around them. Visions filled the air like smoke. The court saw images forming above the crystal. They saw Aaron sitting on the throne. They saw dragons bowing to a human. They saw Kalira standing beside him, not as princess, but as equal. The nobles shouted in anger. "This is corruption. This is weakness. This is the fall of dragon blood." The king lifted his sword, forged from ancient flame. "If the throne cannot judge correctly," he growled, "then I will." He stepped toward the circle. The moment his blade touched the blue fire, the fire exploded outward. The king was thrown across the hall. His sword shattered into pieces before it hit the ground. Silence fell again. The oldest priest finally spoke clearly. "The throne has sealed the trial." "What trial?" a noble whispered. The priest's voice trembled. "The trial of truth." Inside the circle, Aaron felt something entering his mind. Not pain, not burning, but memories, not his own. He saw ancient dragons flying over burning skies. He saw kings crowned with blood. He saw princesses forced into marriages to keep power strong. He saw fear ruling the kingdom for centuries. Then he heard a voice. Deep, ancient, calm, human. Aaron looked around, but no one else reacted. The voice was not in the room. It was inside him. "Why do you hold her hand?" The question fell heavy. Aaron swallowed. "I do not want power," he whispered. Outside the circle, no one could hear him. But the throne could. "I saved her because she was alone," Aaron said quietly. "Not because she was royal." The voice responded. "If she loses crown and fire, will you stay? Aaron did not hesitate. Yes. Another question. If dragons turn against you, will you fight? He shook his head slowly. I will protect her, not rule them. The crystal pulsed brighter. Kilira felt it too. She heard a different question. If he burns, will you choose crown? Her jaw tightened. No. If the throne falls, will you choose him over kingdom? Her answer was instant. Yes. The blue fire changed. It was no longer bright and wild. It became calm, steady. Outside the palace, thunder struck the sky. The ground shook again, but this time not from fear, from decision. The heart of rule moved closer to them, and something impossible happened. The throne bent. The massive black throne lowered slightly, like it was bowing. The nobles stared in horror. The king slowly stood up, bleeding from his forehead. His voice was no longer full of anger. It was full of realization. This is not a bond, he said quietly. This is a transfer. Gasps filled the hall. The priest finished his sentence in a whisper. The throne is choosing a new era. And as the blue fire slowly faded, everyone understood something terrifying. The princess had not just taken a human's hand. She had triggered a law that could end dragon rule as they knew it. And the trial was not finished yet, because the heart of rule began to crack. And whatever would emerge next would not ask for permission. The heart of rule cracked. Not softly, not slowly. It split with a sound like lightning tearing the world apart. A beam of white fire shot straight through the palace roof and into the sky. Outside, clouds twisted violently. The sky above Valtherus turned half gold, half black. It looked like two worlds fighting each other. Inside the throne room, everyone fell to the ground. Everyone except Aaron and Kilira. The blue circle around them shattered. The heart of rule floated higher. Then it broke completely. From inside, it emerged something no dragon had seen for 1,000 years. A spirit of the first flame. It was not a body. It was light shaped like a dragon. Enormous, glowing, transparent, yet heavier than mountains. Every dragon in the hall dropped to their knees. Even King Valor. The spirit's voice did not echo. It pressed directly into their minds. The law has been broken. Fear filled the room. The spirit's eyes burned like twin suns. The law has been honored. Confusion replaced fear. The nobles looked at each other. Which was it? Broken or honored? The spirit turned its massive gaze toward Aaron. The pressure in the room increased. Cracks spread across the palace floor. You are human. Aaron stood still. His legs felt weak, but he did not fall. Yes, he said. The spirit's voice deepened. Human blood has never held the throne. The nobles nodded in agreement. The king slowly lifted his head, hope returning to his eyes. Then the spirit continued. But human heart has never been tested. Silence. The spirit lifted one glowing claw. Suddenly, the entire throne room disappeared. Not destroyed. Shifted. They were no longer inside the palace. They stood on a floating land above a sea of fire. Endless sky above them. No walls. No soldiers. No escape. The trial had moved to another realm. Only 5 remained there. Aaron, Kilira, King Valor, the high priest, and the spirit. Everyone else was gone, watching from the real world. The spirit spoke again. One must fall. The words hit like a weapon. Kilira's grip tightened on Aaron's hand. The king stood up slowly. This is my trial, Valor said. I am king. The spirit turned toward him. You were king. The words cut deeper than any blade. The floating land began to split. Flames rose from below. The spirit declared the rule. The throne demands sacrifice. The high priest's eyes widened in horror. This is the final law, he whispered. When 2 eras collide, one must burn. Aaron stepped forward. I will not let her die. Kilira stepped forward at the same time. I will not let him die. The king looked at both of them. For the first time, he did not look angry. He looked tired. You do not understand what this means, Valor said quietly. If the throne chooses you, Kilira, dragons will follow a human heart. They will call it weakness. Kilira did not look away, or they will call it courage. The spirit's wings expanded across the sky. The floating land began to collapse. Flames rose higher. The spirit made its final command. Prove your era stronger. Suddenly, fire chains shot from the ground. They wrapped around King Valor. They wrapped around Aaron. Both were pulled to opposite edges of the floating land. Only one could stand at the center. Only one could claim the era. Kilira stood between them. She had to choose. If she stepped toward Aaron, the king would fall into the fire. If she stepped toward her father, Aaron would burn. The fire below roared louder. The spirit counted down. 3. The sky cracked. 2. The flames reached higher. 1. Kilira closed her eyes. Then she did something no one expected. She did not move toward either of them. Instead, she stepped into the center of the fire. Gasps echoed from the real throne room where dragons were watching the vision. The spirit's eyes flared bright. You choose death. Kilira's voice was steady. I choose to break the law. The fire surrounded her body, but she did not scream. If one must fall, she said, then let it be the throne. Not my father. Not the man I chose. Aaron shouted her name. The king struggled against his chains. The spirit's voice shook the sky. You would sacrifice the crown? Yes. You would sacrifice power? Yes. You would sacrifice rule? Yes. The floating land stopped collapsing. The flames froze in midair. The spirit slowly lowered its massive head. The chains around Aaron and the king shattered. The fire around Kilira disappeared. The spirit spoke one final sentence. Then the era of fear ends. The floating world shattered like glass. Everyone returned to the throne room. The spirit hovered above the broken throne. The heart of rule reformed, but different. It no longer glowed red. It glowed gold and blue together. The king looked at his daughter. He understood. The throne did not want a stronger ruler. It wanted a braver one. The spirit turned toward Aaron. The human shall not rule. Murmurs filled the hall. Then it continued. But the human shall stand beside. Gasps. The throne will no longer command by blood. The spirit's form began to fade. It will command by choice. And with that, the spirit vanished. The broken throne slowly rebuilt itself. But it was no longer raised above everyone. It stood level with the floor. Equal. The era had shifted, but something else had changed. High above the palace, dark clouds were still forming. Because not all dragons accepted this. And somewhere beyond the mountains, an ancient dragon warlord felt the shift in power and smiled. The throne may have chosen peace, but war had just been invited. The spirit was gone. The throne stood rebuilt, level with the floor, equal. But the silence inside the hall was not peaceful. It was dangerous. No one moved. No one spoke. Then, a slow clap echoed from the back of the throne room. 1, 2, 3. The sound felt wrong. Every dragon turned. The massive doors of the hall were open. Standing there was a dragon no one had expected. Tall, armored in black scales. One horn broken, one eye glowing bright crimson. Lord Varker, the war general of the northern clans. He had not bowed during the vision. He had not knelt when the spirit appeared. And he was not kneeling now. So, Varker said slowly, his deep voice cutting through the hall, "The throne bends for a human." No one answered. King Valor stood silent. Princess Kilira stepped slightly in front of Aaron. Varker walked forward, each step heavy, each step echoing. "The spirit is gone," he continued. "I do not kneel to ghosts." Murmurs spread through the nobles. Some dragons slowly stood taller. Some stepped back in fear. Varker stopped in the center of the hall. His crimson eye locked onto Aaron. "You," he said quietly. "You changed the balance." Aaron did not speak. Varker turned toward the throne. "The throne was built on fire and blood," he said loudly. "Not on soft hearts." Some dragons nodded. Others looked unsure. Kilira's voice cut through the tension. "The throne was built on fear," she said. "And fear weakens kingdoms." Varker smiled slightly. "No, princess," he said. "Fear controls them." The air grew heavier. Varker raised his hand. Outside the palace, a horn sounded. Deep, long, ancient. The walls trembled again. A guard rushed inside, breathless. "Your Majesty, the northern clans have surrounded the capital." Gasps filled the hall. Varker did not look surprised. "I do not accept this new era," he said calmly. "And neither do half the dragons outside these walls." King Valar's jaw tightened. You would start a civil war? Varker's voice remained steady. No, he said. I would prevent one. He pointed toward Aaron. Remove the human. Restore the old law. And this ends. Silence. All eyes turned to the throne. King Valar looked at his daughter. He looked at Aaron. Then he looked at the dragons in the hall. He understood the truth. The spirit had changed the throne, but it had not changed every heart. Kilira stepped forward. You challenge the throne? She asked. Varker shook his head slowly. I challenge weakness. His body began to shift. Black scales covered his arms. Massive wings tore through his armor. His form grew larger, more powerful. The ceiling above cracked as he rose into partial dragon form. The soldiers stepped back. Fire moved between his teeth. I will not kneel to a human age, Varker growled. Aaron felt something stir inside him. The dragon mark on his wrist began to glow again. Not blue, not gold, but both. Varker noticed. His eye narrowed. So, the human carries power now? He laughed darkly. Good. The palace windows exploded inward. Outside, hundreds of northern dragons rose into the sky, dark shapes covering the clouds. The capital was surrounded. The nobles panicked. Some ran. Some shifted into dragon form. Some knelt in fear. Varker spread his wings wide. If the throne wants a new era, he said loudly, then let it defend itself. He unleashed a blast of black fire toward the throne. The attack was massive. It would have destroyed the hall. But before it hit, the throne reacted. A golden barrier formed instantly. The black fire collided against it. The impact shook the entire city. Outside, dragons roared. Inside, dust fell from the ceiling. The throne was defending itself. But it would not attack. It would not choose violence. Varker laughed again. See, he shouted. It hides behind protection. Aaron stepped forward. Kilira grabbed his arm. Do not, she whispered. But Aaron looked at the throne. He looked at the dragons. He looked at the people who would die if war started. Then he looked at Varker. I do not want a throne, Aaron said clearly. His voice was calm, but it carried through the hall. I do not want your power. Varker stared at him. Then leave, the warlord said. And the dragons remained strong. Aaron's jaw tightened. I will not leave her. Varker's smile disappeared. Then you choose war. The dragon mark on Aaron's wrist burned brighter. Suddenly, the floor beneath him cracked. Light shot upward around his body. The throne reacted again. But this time, it was not defending. It was responding to him. The golden barrier around the throne extended outward. It wrapped around Aaron and Kilira, not as protection, but as recognition. The throne was linking to him. The hall went silent again. Even Varker stopped moving. King Valar whispered under his breath. It should not be possible. Aaron felt no pain, only clarity. He could feel the city. He could feel the dragons outside. He could feel fear, anger, division. The throne was not giving him control. It was giving him connection. Varker's voice dropped lower. What are you? Aaron looked up at him. Not your enemy. Outside, lightning struck the sky. The northern dragons prepared to attack. Inside, the throne glowed brighter than ever before. Two sides stood ready. One for fear, one for choice. And above the capital, the sky split open again. Because something far older than Varker, far older than the throne, had felt the war begin, and it was waking. The sky did not just split. It tore open. A massive crack formed above the capital. Not lightning, not storm, a wound in the sky. From inside it came darkness. Not clouds, not smoke, pure shadow. Every dragon in the air froze. Even Lord Varker stopped breathing, because they all felt it. This was not civil war. This was something older. The throne inside the palace began to shake again. Not from fear, from recognition. King Valar's face turned pale. It cannot be, he whispered. The high priest fell to his knees. The void serpent, long before dragon kings, long before crowns, there was an enemy, a creature born from chaos when the first flame created order. It had tried to swallow dragon fire once before, and it had been sealed beyond the sky. Now the seal was breaking. The crack widened. A giant eye opened in the darkness above. Cold, endless, hungry. The northern dragons in the sky roared in panic. Some tried to attack it. Their fire disappeared into the darkness, as if it never existed. Lord Varkar looked up slowly. His confidence faded. "This was not my doing," he said. No one answered, because it did not matter. The void serpent began to descend. Its body was not solid. It moved like living shadow. Where it passed, fire went out. The throne glowed brighter, but its light was smaller compared to the darkness above. Aaron felt the connection again. Stronger now. The throne was not reacting to Varkar. It was reacting to the void. Kilira stepped beside him. "What is it doing?" she whispered. Aaron understood something. "It is afraid." The throne was never meant to fight this alone. The old era ruled by fear had kept dragons divided. The new era was not about power. It was about unity. The void serpent opened its mouth. The sky began to collapse inward. The capital started to fall apart. Buildings cracked. Walls shattered. Dragons screamed in the air. Lord Varkar looked at Aaron. "For once," he said quietly, "tell me what to do." The words shocked the hall. The warlord was asking the human. Aaron did not hesitate. "Stop fighting each other." The throne responded instantly. Golden light shot outward across the city, not as a weapon, as a signal. Every dragon felt it. Every clan, every soldier. The light did not command. It asked, "Choose." The void serpent descended lower. Its shadow touched the palace towers. Stone turned to dust. Aaron stepped toward the throne. Kilira grabbed his arm. "If you link deeper," she said softly, "you may not come back." He looked at her. Simple, honest. "If we don't, no one will." He placed his hand on the throne. The connection exploded. Light burst from the palace into the sky. Aaron felt every dragon's heart. Their fear, their pride, their anger, their love for their world. He did not control them. He connected them. "Stand together," he whispered. Across the capital, dragons stopped fighting. Northern, Eastern, Royal, Rebel, all turned toward the sky. Lord Varkar shifted fully into dragon form. Massive black wings spread wide. He looked at the void, then at Kilira, then at Aaron. Without another word, he roared and flew upward. One by one, dragons followed. Hundreds, thousands. They formed a circle around the void serpent, not attacking alone, breathing fire together. The flames merged in the sky. Red, blue, gold, black. One united blaze. The void screamed. Its shadow twisted violently. But it was not enough. The darkness pushed back. The sky cracked further. Aaron felt his strength fading. The throne could not give more without a cost. The spirit's voice returned faintly in his mind. Unity demands sacrifice. Aaron understood. The throne needed a living bridge. Someone to anchor the united fire. He looked at Kilira one last time. She understood instantly. "No," she whispered. He smiled softly. "You chose me." Then he stepped fully into the throne's core. Light consumed him. Not burning, not screaming, just light. The united dragon fire struck the void at the same time, with Aaron as the anchor. The sky exploded in golden flame. The void serpent shattered into fragments of fading shadow. The crack in the sky sealed slowly. Silence fell. The dragons descended. The capital still stood, damaged, but alive. Inside the throne room, the throne no longer glowed. It stood quiet, empty. Kilira ran to it. The dragon mark on Aaron's wrist had vanished. So had he. The high priest approached slowly. He did not take the throne, he said gently. He became its foundation. Kilira touched the throne. It felt warm, alive, but different. It no longer carried one ruler's will. It carried everyone's. Outside, dragons landed across the city. No clan banners, no divided colors, only silence. Lord Varkar walked into the hall. He looked at Kilira, then at the throne. Then he knelt, not to a human, not to a king, but to the new era. One by one, every dragon followed. The throne did not rise above them. It remained level, because power was no longer about ruling from above. It was about standing together. Kilira stood before the dragons, not as a princess protected by blood, but as a leader shaped by choice. And far above the sealed sky, a faint golden light shimmered. Not gone, just watching, because the human who took her hand had not vanished. He had become a fire that would protect them all. And from that day forward, the throne never trembled again, because it no longer stood alone.